Hi, everybody. I'm going to now read The Diaper Gang, chapter 24, our last chapter. It was June and steamy as the inside of an auto engine. Tourist season was over and Key West was sleepy again. My cousin in Ohio wrote that he saw the newspaper article you were interviewed for, Ira told me. Me and Ira and Pork Chop were walking down Duval Street pulling a wagon full of babies. We had 3 tykes packed tight in a wagon like sausages. Really? I asked. He said, "You are famous," I nodded with the corkscrew curls bouncing away. He wrote that every kid knows about Beans Curry and the Diaper Gang. Well, that just sounded good to me. Maybe I'll get a screen test with Warner Brothers after all, I mused. I didn't know if I would be discovered, but Key West certainly had been. The Casa Marina was already booked up for the next season. Mr. Stone and his band of merry new dealers were planning more improvements. We wanted to put on a theater show and have art gallery exhibits. He was bringing in more artists to paint murals around town and was even importing bicycles for the tourists. The changes were apparent everywhere. Where restaurants were opening, stores were too. The lingering despair that had all but disappeared with the piles of garbage. Everyone was happier these days. A wailing came from the wagon. Well, almost everybody was happier. "I swear, pudding's the worst," Pork Chop muttered, shaking his head at the squalling baby. The other 2 babies were fast asleep like little angels that had dropped from heaven. Pudding was a bad baby. Kid never stopped crying. I blamed his mother. She always picked him up. If I learned anything, it was just that you had to let a baby be. Ira pointed down at the street. At least Pudding ain't as bad as him. Heading our way was Winky. "Beans," Winky called with a fake smile. "How you doing there, palsy?" Pork Chop just rolled his eyes. "Nice days, huh, boys?" Winky said. "What you want, Winky?" I asked. Just because I pulled babies around didn't mean I was soft. In fact, I was harder than ever. "I was just wondering if you'd all be interested in working for me again." "Nope." "I'll give you a dime for 20 cans, he wheedled. "Can't help you, Winky," I told him. "You won't even have to clean the cans. I'll do all that." "Sorry," I replied. Babies were big business. The Diaper Gang had a waiting list for our wagon. Every mother in town was dying to know my secret formula for diaper rash. I even made up rules for the gang. The first rule was no girls allowed. I like being my own boss. It didn't even bother me that most of the mothers paid us in homemade candy. It always tasted sweet, and it was a lot less complicated than money. "But Beans," Winky pleaded. I ignored him and turned to Pork Chop. "Come on," I said. "We got babies." "Positively," Pork Chop agreed. We left Winky standing in the dust. We pulled the wagon past the movie theater. Murray was getting me into the late show for free these days because of his cousin. We'd seen the latest Shirley Temple show a few nights ago. She was a genuine star now. But some things never changed. Mr. Stone was striding down the street in his underwear. Bermuda shorts. "Why, Peas, how good it is to see you," Mr. Stone said. I didn't even bother to correct him anymore. I was kind of getting used to him calling me Peas. "Here, take a stack of these and drop them off as you go around town," he told us, shoving a pile of brochures into my hand. Pork Chop peered over my shoulder. "Hospitality hints for the Key West resident," he said. Mr. Stone looked enthusiastic. "It's got some tips to make our little island welcoming for the tourists." I flipped through it. The hints included be friendly to visitors, keep Key West as quiet as possible, and do not soak the tourists. Now that the city was cleaned up, Mr. Stone was apparently trying to renovate its inhabitants. "And look," he pointed out helpfully, "it suggests that parents encourage children to play in the playground." "You have been using the playground, haven't you?" "Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Stone. We use the playground every single day, from morning until night," I assured him, even though no one really used it. "That's wonderful to hear. Keep up the good work," he said. Keep up the good play." Pudding started fussing again. "Gotta go," I told Mr. Stone. As we walked away, Pork Chop snorted. "Laid on a bit thick there, didn't you?" "Easier to just tell grown-ups what they want to hear," I said. Because it was. I told every mother whose tot I watched that her child was the best baby in town. Say, Ira said, I hear there's a new marble crew in town. They're calling themselves the Amazing Aggies. The Amazing Aggies? That's a pretty good name, I admitted. They're playing the Mighty Misters later this morning, Ira added. I wasn't at all concerned. The Keepsies were still the best marble crew in town. Every kid wanted to be in our gang, not that we wanted them all. Hey, Beans, Too Bad called. You fellows need any help? That kid was still like a flea. No way, no how, Too Bad, Pork Chop said, waving him away. I leaned down and gave the wailing pudding a sniff. That baby had a full diaper, and boy, I do mean full. Let the kid have a try changing a diaper, I said. Pork Chop looked at me like I was a lunatic. If he can change a diaper, I'll think about letting him into our gang, I explained. Too Bad wasn't thrilled. Maybe I can get a new nickname, too. We'll see, I said, and slapped a clean cloth diaper in his outstretched hand. Show us what you got, I told him, stepping back to observe. Too Bad laid a blanket on the ground and lifted up the squalling pudding out of our wagon. He slipped the clean diaper under the baby's hiney with one hand before removing the soiled diaper with the other. That was my trick, too. Keep the blanket clean. But before Too Bad could continue, Pudding let out an enormous toot. Too Bad was so startled that his hand holding the soiled diaper flew out and landed on my chest with a wet splat. Too Bad, I barked. The kid gasped in horror. Oh, I'm so sorry, Beans. Honest. I shook my head. Maybe I was the one who needed a new nickname. Too Stupid seemed about right. After we returned the babies to the loving arms of their mothers, I settled on the swing in the cool shade of the front porch to enjoy my candy. Poppy's shoes weren't on the porch, but it was all right. He came home most weekends. From inside the house, a voice protested loudly. I don't want to take a nap. These days, it wasn't Buddy who was trying to get out naps. It was Kermit. I heard Ma shout in frustration. Do you want to die? Is that what you want? Kermit wasn't confined to his bed anymore, but the doctor said that he had to take a nap every day because of his heart. Termite growled, and I looked up. A figure was strolling up the lane. Dot. Beans, she said shortly. Dot, I replied, what do you want? I thought you'd just like to know that we just beat the Mighty Mipsters. That made me sit up. Who's we? Didn't you hear? I've got my own marble crew these days. All girls. The Amazing Aggies. Then she grinned. Just let me know when you want us to beat you boys, she said as she strolled off. Oh, I still hated that girl. No sooner had Dot disappeared than I heard the rumble of a car. It was an old Model A Ford. Nothing like the slick Ford Model 730 Deluxe V8 sedan. The two people getting out of it didn't resemble Bonnie and Clyde one bit. They were a middle-aged man with a pot belly and a young girl carrying a mangy cat. Excuse me, son, the man called out to me. Judging by his rumpled suit, he was a salesman. He looked greasy and slick. Something about him reminded me of Winky. What are you selling, mister? I asked in a bored voice. He brightened. Well, since you asked, I do happen to have some hair tonic in my automobile today. What? What does that do? Well, it makes your hair grow, he said, pointing to his bald head. It's guaranteed to work in 1 month or your money back. Even a baby wouldn't fall for a scam like that. I snorted. Guess you ain't a satisfied customer. As he sputtered, I shook my head. Grown-ups were such lying liars. But then, again, kids were too. The important thing was to watch out for the bad lies. And don't ever, ever get winkied. And that's the end of our story. That was a really good book. I enjoyed that a lot, this historical fiction. I'm also going to put up a short slideshow that talks about what was true in the book, because that's what makes it historical. And then, of course, all the fictional part are the characters in the book, like Beans and his gang. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you later.